1 Peter 4:10, he says, as each has received a gift, minister it to one another as good stewards of the manifold of grace. Because guess what? The only way you fan into flame the gift of God is you have to put your gift to action. You have to put it to action. In other words, what Paul is telling Timothy, you cannot neglect what is on the inside of you. He said, don't neglect it, but you have to put it into action. You have to use what you have been given. 1 Timothy 4 verse 14, it says this, do not neglect the gift that is in you, which was given to you by prophecy with the laying on of the hands of the eldership. He's saying, look here, Timothy, because the laying of the hands, when we lay hands on you, let me give you some meaning behind that. Because oftentimes you say, why are they laying hands on that person? It's because they're separating them for service. They're separating you for service. And he's saying, do not neglect or do not abandon that. Let me tell you something. Do not neglect your gift just because you feel as though you're not old enough to be able to do it. There is no age requirement when it comes down to serving God. All right, okay. I think I need to give you some examples of that here so you can feel where I'm coming from for a second. My boy Samuel, he texted me the other day. He said, yo, I heard you was preaching. I was like, yo, who told you that? He was like, God did. I was like, true. He tells a lot of people things. And I was like, cool. Samuel was like, don't forget to tell my story. How I thought I was hearing the voice of Eli, but I was really hearing the voice of God. And guess how old I was? I was only 12. Oh, my God. Then my homeboy David, he called me up too. This time he didn't send me no text. He actually called me. And he said, yo, I heard Samuel called you. I'm like, man, y'all just working like a unit today. I was like, cool. He was like, David said, don't forget about me neither. How I'm the one at the age of 16 slayed Goliath. And I was around a bunch of older men who were scared of the Philistine. Let me tell you something. You got a giant slaying anointing over your life, and it doesn't matter how old you are. You can do everything that God has called you to do. Don't let nobody despise your youth. And that's why Paul said in 1 Timothy 4:12, he said, let no one despise your youth, but be an example to the believers in the word, in conduct, in love, in spirit, in faith, and in purity. Don't let nobody despise your youth. Don't let nobody tell you that you can't. Who told you I couldn't? Because God said I could do all things. God said that I'm the head and not the tail. I'm above and not beneath. Who are you telling me that I can't do what God's called me to be? Don't you neglect the gift of God has on your life because you're trying to conform to where everybody else wants you to be. You ain't called to be like everybody else. You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the earth. Don't you conform to who they say and think that you ought to be.